were in my favor. I had 'em 5-1. And that nag to win came around the track. Sure enough, we had won.
Michelle Boyce had first had her, and at the time I was riding quite a few for Michelle. That's how I ended up on her from the beginning. I started working her, maybe her first quarter mile, her first 3/8. I got along with her, really good. I felt like she had a lot of talent. At first, she just never seemed to get there for a while. I guess we were kind of like second guessing herself, like, oh, maybe she's not as good as we thought she was. Michelle Boyce had ended up selling her to Steve Ridley, and I was able to keep riding her. I really still felt like the filly had a lot of talent. She was still running, decent races and stuff, but she just was never running to what, I felt her potential was.
Peyote Patty on the inside, Jazz Odyssey on the outside. They're going head and head to the finish. Peyote Patty will prevail.
I was happy to see that she finally put everything together and finally gave me what I knew was there all along. We came to Arlington. We weren't sure about the poly track. We didn't know how she was going to take to it. Turns out, she loves it. On her first start here on the poly track, we were going 6.5. She left the gate running, and she just drove away from him.
Peyote Patty! Peyote Patty pulls away to win by 6.
After she won the race going 6.5, I talked to Steve, and he was wondering, well, you think she can go farther? You think we can stretch her out? And I don't see why she can't. So we ended up running her back in the non-2 back against Illinois breds going a mile. Well, once she won, it was like she was unstoppable. She won that easy, too.
Peyote Patty full of blood. Peyote Patty driven out.
We ended up running her going a mile and a 16th. Now, she broke from the outside. When we left the gate, she kind of just fell out of there. Normally she left there charging. I didn't worry about it. First time going 2 turns, I didn't want to rush her up there and try to use her too early. About the middle of the turn, turning for home, I kind of eased her out and, just barely asked her to run at all. I never even had to uncock my stick. She just ran by those horses like they were standing still. I just hand rode her easily, just eased her in all the way to the wire.
Here's Peyote Patty on to 4 in a row.
It was even more impressive that she was able to come from off the pace and yet still jump up and win so impressively. Yeah, she finally figured it out. She was like, I like winning. I want to do this again. So after that, where do you go from there? You look for a stake to run in. She's done proven everything else to us. We just gave her every challenge we could throw at her, and, she just kept showing up for us. First time on the grass, first time in a stakes race. It's an Illinois owner stake, so it's not necessarily restricted to Illinois breds. It makes it a tougher stake than just your regular Prairie State Festival Day races.
Peyote Patty's in front. Peyote Patty runs on final 16th. Never Retreat is chasing. Shanti Lady and Son for Fun. Tim Thornton and Peyote Patty. Peyote Patty perfect at the park and on to 5 in a row.
I wish every horse that I rode had as big as heart and tried as hard as she does. She ran really hard. She did everything we asked her to, so they gave her a deserving rest, let her freshen up a little bit. Brought her back in 2010. They run her back going 6.5. She come up a little bit short. Then they run her back going a mile. And, she just, I guess she still got just a little bit tired. I wasn't worried about it. I felt like she ran a good race, and, she gave me, gave me a good effort. We ended up going back in the stake, and that was the Illinois bred stake. And I was on the fence all the way around there, and I was, trying to save ground as much as I could. Well, when we turned for home, I started looking for somewhere to go, and, I just kind of got boxed in a little bit, and wasn't able to get out, exactly when I wanted to. And the horse in the lead was running strong. I was able to get out, but it was just too late. I came running. I only got beat 3/4 of the length. I feel that I definitely should have won the race. I felt like I was on the best horse that day, but racing luck just didn't turn out in my favor today. After that race, I was waiting on her to come back. She's gone a whole summer. She's not here. I'm like, I missed her. I was wondering. I just couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for her to get back. She comes back. She ends up in Mr. Chris Block's barn. I was thinking, hopefully I was, going to be able to ride her. It turned out Eddie Perez rides most of the horses for Mr. Block, so they decided to give him a shot on her. Of course, I remember watching her run, because I was disappointed that I wasn't on her. So after the race, I went back and, I had talked to, Mr. Chris, and, he said, okay, well, You know, let me see what I can do. Prairie State Festival Day was coming up. That was the race that they were aiming for, was the Lincoln Heritage. So it turns out he put me back on the stake. When I was able to get back on her, I was thrilled.
Peyote Patty and Tim Thornton and the Lincoln Heritage.
She ends up jumping up and winning again like we did a lot in the past. Her next race was on the grass in the Illinois Owner Stake. It was a tough race, you know, running against a Grade 1 winner.
Who, why wins?
You know, Peyote Patty, she ran a race. You know, we got outran that day by a really nice filly. She tried and gave me everything she had, so, you know, it's time to move on to the next race. So we decided to go back to the poly track. There was a good race coming up for her that we felt like would set up good. We knew that she loved the poly track, so we decided to go back into the poly track race. She's already won on the surface and already won at that distance. Once again, she left the gate running that day and didn't look back.
Peyote Patty was too good under Tim Thornton.
That was towards the end of the meet at Arlington, so, you know, it was time to head back to Hawthorne, back on the dirt course, which she hadn't ran on in a really long time.
Peyote Patty won it. Peyote Patty won by 3.
Coming back to Arlington for the 2012 meet. I had been working her over here before she ran. She was working great. She's getting a little older, but, you know, she hasn't slowed down a step. You know, she had been working really good. You know, so I had a lot of, you know, high expectations for her coming into the meet. First time, you know, I was expecting a huge effort out of her, and she kind of ran a disappointing race. She emptied out fairly quick. You know, it was probably the first time in her career that I felt like she really didn't give me everything that she had. She kind of quit early. Before we even turned for home, I knew that she wasn't going to finish the way Peyote Patty finishes. It's a filly that I've won so many races on, and, you know, that I like so much, and, you know, of course, she's a highlight of my career. She's been my top horse for many years, and when one runs like that, you know, it's always in the back of your head. She is getting older. Maybe she's tailing off a little bit. Maybe she's just not the same. We kind of just threw that race out, and we went ahead and we headed for the stake. She left that running really strong. She got pretty ranked. She was tugging me along pretty good, and I didn't want to fight with her too much. You know, sometimes you grab a hold of one too much, you choke all the run out of her. So, you know, I was just trying to work with her. And, you know, when we started to turn for home, she kind of started tailing off with me a little bit again. Right away when she did that, immediately I started thinking about the race before when she emptied out. But when those horses come up on the outside of her, she picked up the bit right, you know, again, and she kept trying. I was glad to see she didn't just throw it in and give it up and no longer try. She fought back and fought strong all the way to the wire. Even though she didn't win, I was happy of her efforts. I knew that, okay, you know, she still got it, she still got the heart, she still got the want to, she still got the try. So after the stake, we ended up going into an optional claim in 80,000, which was a really tough race. Just as easily could have been another stake for her. You know, that was a lot of good horses in the race. After being on her and riding her so many races, you get to know her really well. When she left their first jump and she wasn't just chomping at the bit when we loaded the gate and she was relaxed and calm in the post parade, I felt pretty good that she was going to relax good for me. And when we started turning her for home, I started letting her out a little bit and easing up to her. And when we straightened away and I reached and grabbed her, she just exploded home, you know. When she dug in right away and was running so hard with me, I was like, Peyote Patty's back. It was awesome. She jumped up after her throwing a couple, you know, bad races, thinking, you know, maybe she's tailing off. You know, it's nice that she's back. Nice to know that she's still there and, you know, she still got it. So it was definitely awesome to be back in the winner's circle, you know. I guess that was my ninth time being in the winner's circle with her. It was just an allowance race, but it was a stake for me, you know. Well, we're here at Chris Block's barn. We're coming to visit Peyote Patty after her big win. You know, she's been tested a lot. You know, she's on every surface, every distance. You know, layoffs, coming back off the layoffs, and you know, she just passed another one of our tests, I guess. You know, so I'm looking forward to, you know, riding her back, and hopefully she'll keep running that way, and we could have another good summer like we've always had here.
Good going.